Ogokiti here. Let's talk to you. Good morning. Thanks for coming.
Good morning.
Chief Executive Officer at Times Economics, and is also an economic advisor. So the first simple question looks like a very simple one. Where are we?
Where?
As far as the economy is concerned in 2016, where are we at the moment?
Where are we?
That's a simple question.
Well, it's supposed to be a simple question, but it's not. And it's not funny at all.
No, the president says on Monday it's not funny.
No, it's not.
He says in his statement that the state of the power situation in the country is not, he says it's not funny. He said it's become a butt of jokes, but it's not funny.
No, it's not funny because you have a situation where you have very deteriorating economic global conditions. I mean, the economic conditions globally is deteriorating. That's number one. And secondly, in Nigeria today, you have a growing uncertainty and growing financial insecurity at a level I consider we have not seen since the turn of the century. So we have not been in this kind of situation where we seem, what you can say, hopeless. What I mean by hopeless is like you are just not sure what the next quarter will be, or you are not sure where the top quarter will hold.
Looks like all the odds are against you.
All the odds are against you. So everywhere you look, they are all just disappointing data. Whether you look globally or you look domestically, you cannot actually see a data that say, oh, this is a sign that things will get better in the coming quarter. So that's actually where we are.
That's where we are. But the question is, where are we heading?
Where are we heading? It's a very difficult question.
I thought these are simple questions.
No, these are not simple questions. Especially because if you look at it from the point of view of Nigeria, for instance, if you say, okay, you don't want to rely on oil, yeah? If you say you don't want to rely on oil, how long does it take you
to transit?
To transit, So it's a long-term thing. So let's not even go there. Because if you say, as they say, is that in the long run, we are all dead. So we should not go to the long run yet. So the hope in terms of international situation, what we can hope for is that the situation improves with oil price. Domestically, there are also issues. There are issues. We have a new government, and we have a new government in the sense that all the people leading the government now are relatively new. There's bound to be some measures of assessment, and there's bound to be, okay, now this is where we want to go. Do you get me? So the speed has not been maybe what it would have been if there was a continuation of government. So we have to also understand that. That is also a fair point.
So expect a bit of a slowdown at the
wrong time.
May 29, 2015 junction.
Yes.
Because it was a junction.
Yes, it was a junction.
So you expect when you're driving and you get to a junction, you've got to slow down.
You have
That's
to
what
slow
the road
down.
sign
Yes,
says.
you have to slow
down. That's what road safety means.
You have to slow down. And I guess that is the point they're now trying to make. That look, okay, we have done our own assessment. We have come up with a budget of 6 point some trillion, wherever it is. And now, okay, this is where we are going. And from what they have said so far, they've been very, very consistent and say, okay, look, we're going to do so much on infrastructure. We're going to do so much on housing, on things that they believe will not only lead to infrastructure development, but also lead to jobs at the very, very lowest level.
We need to move on quickly. I need to ask another very simple question. The question at this time is, what are we doing now? What are we doing now? Now.
From whose perspective?
From the government perspective.
From the perspective, oh, well, there's no nice way of saying it. Nothing has happened in 9 months. I mean, there's no, you can't massage it. Nothing has happened in 9 months. So
from what perspective did you say nothing has happened?
Well, except you want to tell me what has happened, because from my own point of view, nothing has happened. And that is why I said, I believe what has happened is still, let's take some time to assess, to prepare, and before we begin to take
some of the things that happened in the 9 months, we've seen dozens of thousands of ghost workers expunged from the civil service. We've also seen a setup of an efficiency unit. We've seen the government clawing back some money from previous arrangements, one way or the other. We've also seen a lot of momentum from the anti-corruption, real rattling of the civil service, and the president looks like someone who believes that the civil service will have to be rattled, cleaned up, put together as the mechanism where the engine really is.
Okay, great.
So that's
great.
something, isn't
Oh, no. That's something.
Does it
Depending
count
on the
to you?
perspective. Oh, yeah. It counts depending on the perspective you're looking at it from.
So what's your perspective, a public
Good.
service or a private sector
Good.
service?
Let me try and explain that. This government, and I'm sure following the campaign, they were determined to what the mentality, the mindset is that there's so much rot in the system, so much rust in the system, so much corruption, so much leakages. And that is fine to deal with that. It is fine to deal with that. But when I said nothing in terms of, we're saying all those measures are about efficiency and safeguarding public resources. But in terms of the economy and growing national income, that's what I mean by nothing so much. What I mean in terms of policy, in terms of changes to how we actually generate growth, production, and the rest. There is so much there. I think now that they've maybe been able to recover some resources, stabilize what they call the leakages and minimize all those things, maybe they will now move to that direction. That is where we...
So we go back to the second question. Where are we headed and how? Now I'm going to ask you, did you listen to the president's statement on Monday?
Yes, yes.
Well,
The major thing I took away was the power.
Was the power?
Yes.
Well, now he read a 25-paragraph statement, and I printed it's about 5 pages here. Are you encouraged by what he said here?
Well,
Power, agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, housing.
Well, it's the usual stuff. I mean, I don't expect him to say anything other than that. But I think what he says is different, is important, but what is more important is what is done. You see, so how I'm expecting what will be done. And I hate to think that we just believe that just by spending 6.1 trillion efficiently will transform Nigeria economy. That is the point I'm trying to run away from. There must be some policy changes to the way in which we do things.
He enunciated a number of policy changes in this 25-paragraph statement. He talked about the need, for example, in the issue of housing, he says the time is to sit down to review the laws relating to land ownership.
Absolutely.
Fine.
Important.
You agree with the president?
I
on that?
agree, yes.
The president also talked about access to small credit. He says state government should work together in the area of agriculture to come up with policies.
It may not be, it can be improved, but that's always been the case, yes.
He also talked about manufacturing. He also says there's a high cost of borrowing. Beyond that, he says inadequate infrastructure, power, roads, and security. He says that Nigeria's industry, state of industry, is outmodeled and industrial practices far behind those in advanced countries. He had some prognosis in these 25 paragraphs. Do you agree with that?
Prognosis for manufacturing,
Yes.
was it?
And he spoke about privatization.
Privatization?
Yes, in the power
Yeah,
sector.
like I said, the power sector is already privatized.
Yes.
So I don't
So the document here really show that some policies, some actions are going to be taken. So
no,
the
but
question
the power,
is again, where
the
are
power
we
sector
headed?
is already privatized.
Yes.
I mean, that's not new.
Where we need to bring efficiency
Absolutely,
into that. Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
And he
I
says
agree.
previous administrations had been unable to deliver that. Administrations. Improve.
Well, yes and no. Because I say yes and no because the privatization process was completed, and many Nigerians, including myself, expected much more progress than we saw before the last government exited. Yes, we didn't see that. And I sincerely hope that we see that progress now, yes.
Which means you're on the same page with the president on that score.
Yes, in terms of expectations, yes.
Now, moving forward, let's look at the yesterday's interest rate decision by the central bank, narrowing the asymmetric corridor and also raising the cash reserve ratio. Do you think these are part of what we are doing, or what should we be doing moving forward? 2016 is what we're looking at.
Yes, yes. I think given the economic challenges that we face, and where monetary policies situate in this country at the moment, I think you cannot have a more credible changes than was made yesterday. I think it's credible. For instance, if you look at inflation doing 11.4%, if you leave the MPC rate, the benchmark rate as 11%, that means you're basically saying that real interest rates will be negative. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to do something. Secondly, the CBN, I think, must have expected the budget, that will soon be passed, hopefully today, to inject some funds, and they know that some liquidity will come into the system in that. So the measures yesterday will be to moderate this liquidity in the system. And I also think that the important thing that was said yesterday is that, look, all the liquidity that we have eased into the system in the last 6 to 9 months have actually been swallowed by public borrowing. I'm sure you know that. Private sector credit has only risen by about 1% in the last quarter. So given all these challenges and given the deteriorating global economic conditions, I'm not sure we could have done, the CBN could have done more than what they did yesterday.
So I'll find a quick one from you. Looking at the rates and state of inflation, what's your outlook on growth, therefore? Because all of this put together.
Nothing much in terms of growth. I think growth would depend so much on what happens on the fiscal side now, and that 350 billion is the first start, I think.
Okay, it looks like this money will have to be somehow, it looks like all of us are agreeing.
No, we are all waiting for it.
350 billion.
We are waiting for it.
Thank you. Let's have a handshake.
Wait
for the 350 billion. Ogo Okitowe, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Economic advisor and chief executive officer at Times Economics. When we come back, we'll go back to the markets and see what happens, what you call the morning after the rates announcements.